Well, hello there. Friends,
Hello.
lovers. Thank you for joining us. This is 5 Minutes. 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir. And you. We're glad you're here. Thank you for joining us. Want to see you in the chat. Jim Ashley, of course. The writer Jim Ashley already says, "What's up?" I'll tell you what's up.
What's up?
Today is September 17th. September 17th, 2023, the 260th day. The numbers are getting big. The 260th day of this, your best year yet. You've got 105 days left to make that so. Those numbers are getting smaller. It's only 99 days until Christmas. And only 44 days until Halloween.
It's already here. Happy Halloween, everybody. I'm looking spoopy. I've got this is actually a glow-in-the-dark headband with little skulls on it.
I don't know if folks can see it, but yes, glow-in-the-dark skulls.
And I've got my David Vanyan
Wow. Holy
vampire bow
smoke.
tie damned t-shirt.
That was a hell of a show. Hell of a show.
I love the
No,
damned.
really good.
It's really good.
Yeah, a band I wasn't into until Amy took me to see them. If your friends say, "Let's go see this band I like," and you're like, "I don't know that band," go see that band.
Yeah.
Part of what we'll be
Yeah.
talking about today. Yeah, 44 days until only 5 days until autumn. 5 days until fall. Wow. What are your plans for the fall?
So
I
in
don't
other
know.
words-
Try to rebuild civilization? No, the other fall.
Okay. 5 days of summer left.
5 days. That's a better way to put it. You've got 5 more days. 5 days to have the time of your life.
Run around your bathing suit, get the hose out. It might be 50 degrees out, but it's all right.
It's very frustrating that we've got that Memorial Day, Labor Day thing in the United States. The pool's all open on
Right.
Memorial Day and they close on Labor Day. So yesterday was Robert's. It really should be Robert and Amy's, although this year I did most of the lifting myself.
Yeah.
Robert's 7th annual rock and roll picnic.
Woo!
Pictures on Facebook. I'll be putting more up, video clips of all the fun we had. It's a picnic that I throw at the park. We throw at the park every year, except the couple we missed, COVID. But, yeah, rock and roll picnic. Super cool. And the splash pad, they don't have a pool at this particular park. They have a splash pad and it was closed. Oh, man, because, it was like closed it the week before. It's that darned Memorial Day, Labor Day thing. Don't let that stop you. 5 days left of summer. Make sure you capitalize on them. For you folks who are south of the equator, I apologize. I understand. 5 more days left of winter. Hey, spring is right around the corner. Something for you to look forward to, too. And on this date, you knew we'd get to it, September 17th, 1787 was when the U.S. Constitution was signed. On September 17th, the Constitution of the United States of America. Listening to him talking as if everybody's in the United States. But this has impact for around the world. It certainly gave a foundation to all the countries that came afterward. Signed by the 39 delegates present at the conclusion of the Constitutional Convention in Philadelphia. Supporters of the document waged a hard-won battle to win ratification by the necessary 9 out of 13 states. That's right, you other 4 states, you losers, you get to come along anyway. Don't worry, we will get you up to speed. So yes, this was the date, the signing of the U.S. Constitution. We'll say more about that in a minute, but first and foremost, it is also on this date, it's Wife Appreciation Day.
Woo!
Did you know that?
Life is.
So I want to give a shout out to my wife, Amy.
Oh.
You are the best, and I do appreciate you.
Oh, thank
And
you.
you're
Thank
so
you, Robert.
wonderful. I will give you a foot rub someday when I feel like it.
Thank you, husband.
If folks only knew how many foot rubs happen in this house. But anytime you want it. But I also got to give a shout out to Mark's wife. Mark's wife, like the guy in the Bible? No. Mark, who had heart surgery this week.
Yeah.
And whose wife tended to all of his every needs. Huge shout out to Echo. We saw you, of course.
Yes.
At the event that you were at. The hall event, sales event, selling candles and other wares. Next move, we got to get you a website. Then we can start pushing you on this show.
Yes.
A huge shout out to Matt's wife.
Oh, yeah, Laura.
Oh, my gosh. So, Rock and Roll Picnic. Matt Matt Chapman, ace drummer, played all day. He was the only drummer all day. Amy knows how to play drums, but Matt covered the whole day. Super cool. Well, Laura, you are the best. Happy anniversary to the two of you. They celebrated their anniversary at the Rock and Roll Picnic, and of course afterward too.
Their 6th wedding anniversary, where they actually got married in the same pavilion where the Rock and Roll Picnic happened.
Yes, people still get married. I always bring up these marriage holidays because I love the institution of marriage. I think everybody should be institutionalized. I love marriage, and people say, no, in these modern times, it's like the 2020s, the roaring 20s. No, the 2020s, and people don't get married anymore. They do. I have attended several weddings. I actually DJ'd Mark and Laura's wedding 6 years ago.
With my help.
With Amy's help. You were there for that one, yes. And so, yes, I'm a big fan of marriage. So if you're not married, or if you're not married to a woman and Wife's Appreciation Day doesn't apply to you, I hope you will still join in the warm feeling in my heart that I get thinking about a day like this. I'm going to say more about that too. Everything's going to overlap today. It always does, doesn't it? It's also International Patient Safety Day. Now, this one I'd never heard of, but we all know that when it comes to hospitals, mistakes happen. I've got a friend of mine who does research on this, and she would probably say mistakes are usually what happens. But either way, International Patient Safety Day. Well, of course, Echo and Mark. Echo made sure there were no safety issues there. She was his advocate, and more power to him.
Yes.
So
it's good to have an advocate when you're in the hospital. You gotta look out for yourself. You've got to be willing to speak up. We've got a lot of introverts who watch this show because, we are so shy too. I kid, but it's absolutely true. And we're the last people to want to say to a nurse or a doctor, look, I'm not being taken care of the way I should, or, oh, I don't understand this decision that was made, or this isn't in line with my wishes. You got to be willing to say, excuse me, let's talk. Right.
And do that thing. So happy International Patient Safety Day. Again, a huge shout out to all you advocates out there. It is, speaking of national holidays, it is Constitution Day. Well, because of course the anniversary of the signing of the Constitution. So those of you who are in the U.S. or who just have an affinity for the United States, you should be celebrating that. I recommend singing the preamble to the Constitution.
Oh, yeah.
The way that it was sung on Schoolhouse Rock.
Absolutely. We the people,
in order to form a more perfect union. We won't do the whole thing, but you absolutely should.
So we
should have done that at the Rock and Roll Picnic. That would have been
great. Next year. Yeah, so it's been 236 years, actually, since we signed that Constitution and entered into a really amazing experience that allowed, basically established individual rights for human beings for the first time on Earth in a systematic way. I mean, that's a big deal. And it wasn't perfect, of course, but, 236 years later, we are not colonies of the United Kingdom.
No.
So we didn't, that actually didn't, it's stuck that we're still our own sovereign nation. And that's great.
There are two ways, you can look at this. You can say this great experiment in liberty failed because there's so much statism, so much socialism, so much government control. I could spend a whole show talking about all the things the government does that stand in the way of our liberties and freedoms. Or you could say 236 years later, the nation is still around. We still have more freedom and opportunity than nearly anywhere else on the planet. I would call the experiment, if you want to call it an experiment in liberty, a success.
Yes.
We've got a long way to go.
Yeah, it's still happening.
But, things may or may not get better. Either way, you got to live the best life you can given the wealth of opportunities that are around us. So happy Constitution Day to you good people out there. Oh, Wife Appreciation Day. Speaking of epic wives, a happy birth date, no longer with us, but the birth date of the great Anne Bancroft. Born Anna Maria Louisa Italiano. But famously of The Graduate and The Miracle Worker. I haven't seen The Miracle Worker in a long time, and I know it's a favorite among objectivists, so I need to watch that again. What I love about Anne Bancroft was she was an amazing actress, both Hollywood and Broadway, but also she was the wife of Mel Brooks.
Yes.
She was the woman who made Mel Brooks a happy man.
Yes.
It's a great love story. If you haven't read or listened to the audiobook version of Mel Brooks, and he reads his own autobiography. It's very well done. Highly recommended. While we're doing birthdays, real quick, it's the birth date of John Waldo Waybill, or we know as Fee Waybill of the Tubes.
Waybill.
Yeah. And
a.k.a. Quaalude.
Quaalude. His alter ego, nom de plume.
I need a T-shirt with Quaalude on it that says the Tubes or White Punks on Dope. It would be great. I would love that.
Now, I got to admit, I wasn't a big Tubes fan. I didn't really follow them. Talk to You Later was actually Phoebe Waybill's favorite Tubes song, and that was a good one.
Yeah.
Co-written with Steve Lukather of the band Toto.
Yeah, they were...
In fact, Lukather actually played almost all of the instruments on that.
Yeah, they were a strange mix of theatrics and rock and roll and kind of parody and just funny music. Like the song "Don't Touch Me There."
Yeah. So I've got to admit, and I mentioned this Fee Waybill earlier online, and right away Jim Ashley responded with a link to the video for White Punks on Dope. I've got to admit, that is my favorite Tube song.
Yeah, me too.
Heavily satirical, of course, and just so well done.
Oh, it's such a great song. And you got to see the video. There's actual video out there.
The one video is just outrageous.
It's so outrageous. He's dressed up basically in aluminum foil with these, I don't know, like a foot tall platform shoes on.
Yeah, they're like platform shoes / stilts.
Yes, they're basically stilts.
It's an outrageous video.
It's great.
It's bizarre.
It's the best.
But there is video out there. Those of you who are friends of ours on Facebook, you may have actually seen us playing White Punks on Dope at a backyard party. So that is a thing that happened. It's a great song to play.
Yeah,
it's
it
kind
really
of hard because there's this sort of jazz weird ending.
There's that, and it's also a shuffle. It's da 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 da.
It is a shuffle.
So it's you got to keep that in mind
and
play
real
swing
fast.
Dance to that. Oh, it's great.
If you could keep from laughing. One more birthday, real quick. Happy birthday to Patrick Mahomes, 2-time Super Bowl winner. He's only 28 years old. I want to be a 2-time winner of anything at 28 years old, on top of being a multimillionaire and incredible athlete. Great guy, at least from the interviews that I've seen. So huge shout out to Patrick Mahomes of the Kansas City Chiefs. Only 28 years old. That's crazy to me. Having watched the Super Bowl and his well-earned win.
I just got a shout out to Johnny on YouTube. He says, hi, oh sweet, the damned shirt. Yeah, there's a day again, everybody. It's Dave Vanian with his bow tie on. He's actually, it's a nice story. If you ever want to look it up, there was a band called Sisters of Mercy, and Patricia Morrison was she is a beautiful bassist, a bass guitar player, and she's lovely and very, very, very goth. And she is now married to Dave Vanian. Thankfully, she got out of a bad relationship with the lead singer of Sisters of Mercy. I won't mention his name, but apparently he wasn't the best person. So happy marriage, happy wife day to Patricia Morrison.
Yes. Christopher Smith, the guitar player Christopher Smith in the chat says, play it. I live it. Well, I hope you're being as satirical as the song is. Of course, all the best punk rock bands were straight edge.
That's true.
No drugs, no liquor.
That's right. Minor threat.
Johnny also says, it isn't a failure until it is given up.
Yeah.
We've talked about that on the show before. One of my favorite quotes is, it's not the falling down, it's the staying down. That's right. You have never lost until you've finally given up. Well, that may be an oversimplification, but it generally holds true. Mm-hmm. So yes, all those shout-outs. And what it's got me thinking of is loyalty. See, we did, let me do the shameless self-promotion real quick here. On Wednesday, I did a show with James Valiant, Diving into the Gray Zone. And we talked about, well, what about your career, your jobs, even your passions when they're mixed cases, or you have to deal with other people who expect things from you that aren't consistent with your values, that don't enable you to be loyal with your values. I thought that was a good show worth watching. we did an episode of Life on Earth with Robert and Amy Nasir, in which we interviewed Dr. Robert Garmong.
Yes.
Second time on that show, and this time we talked about China and the real world out there.
Yeah.
The Far East, differences between the different countries. That was a great conversation,
A lot of cultural information that a lot of people don't have, that information. We just don't have that information here in the West. So It's really amazing. A great first-hand count. Again, Robert Garmong's GoFundMe page is still up. He is still has an opportunity for all of us to support him.
That's
support
true.
your fellow objectivist.
I think I still have it here.
And
in the program we're using.
Yeah, I think it's tiny URL.
There we go.
Yeah.
Look at that. It's still there.
At
That's cool.
/Garmong. So if you want to send him another $5,
flashing right on the screen like a telethon. Look at that. Oh yeah, too cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, we talked to Dr. Garmong again and got the word from the inside. He's a guy who's lived in China for years.
Yes.
So very cool. But one more. A show I wasn't on. You did the reality show.
I did.
Yeah. And where is my link for that?
Yeah, we... why am I forgetting exactly what we
Our
said?
company is always responsible for the actions of their employees. So that was the case where there was an airlines which had a customer had a very, very bad experience. Family traveling with a special needs child, had all sorts of extra arrangements for the flight they were going to be on. And then that flight got switched. And the flight they got switched to, those arrangements weren't made, and nobody at the airlines had any idea how to handle the situation right. It went from bad to worse. Finally, this poor autistic child's going crazy on the plane, so we're going to have to throw you off the plane. And they didn't just say you can't board. They left them out on the tarmac, out on the concrete. And it took forever to resolve that. So anyway, interesting show.
Yeah, it was great. It was basically about EasyJet, which is sort of like a Spirit Airlines in the States. It's a budget airline. They went ahead and they booked. They had an autistic daughter, and they booked a special accommodations for her. The flight got canceled due to a storm. And all sorts of horrible things happened. The one interesting point about that was I illustrated what you can do in a situation where you're kind of stuck in an ethics of emergency situation. You're not getting any response from anybody at the counter, and any guest service people they're not responsive to you. They're giving you the runaround, and certain things that you can say to them to make it happen. Certain things, like, can I speak to him? The person who wrote in about this situation with his family, not once did he ask for a manager or supervisor, which was very strange. Not once did he ask for the corporate number to call. Not once did he tell them, hey, listen, I'm going to go ahead and post this on Twitter, and I'm going to copy, EasyJet or hashtag, and get some response out of that. Maybe before I do that, you can make this whole for us. Maybe you can help us before we have to do any of that. So yeah, I mean, it's basic negotiation with customer service, bringing out your inner Karen, as it were. No offense to any Karens out there.
Well, you say that, but I know you would do it in the friendliest of ways, kind of like the friendly brontosaurus.
I would smile at them, lean in, you clasp your hands like this, and you have a nice look on your face, like you're super friendly, but you lean in and you get in their space.
And you don't take no for an answer. And you stay charming. I know a lot of people think you can bulldoze your way into getting what you want, and maybe that's worked enough that you think that's the best way. But it's amazing how much charm and obstinance can accomplish.
You're polite and stubborn.
Yes. So, good show, and I wish that poor family had heard your advice on that when you talked about the friendly brontosaurus several times.
Yeah. It's hard, but you can do it.
Yeah. The only other thing in my what we're listening to this week list is I really liked Yaron Brooks' episode on living well in an irrational world. But of course, I like all of his shows that are more on the personal side, especially when he's projecting his optimism. So that one's a good one. Link is in the show notes. You see that in the YouTube description and also on the Facebook side if you're watching us on Facebook Live. And all of that, this great time we had yesterday at the Rock and Roll Picnic, and all of my musician friends and our friends who came and showed up and not just played music, but Matt the drummer set up the drums.
Yes, amazing.
He came into Studio Nasir, where I'd already torn them down, but they had to be transported to the park, set back up, played drums all day, and tore them down and brought them back to the studio. I mean,
amazing.
Awesome friends of ours.
Amazing.
Again, musicians who showed up, people who played, people who were on stage who weren't even musicians, but were, hello, Jennifer, having a good time with us, and we were glad you were there.
Yes.
It was great. And it got me thinking about, because this has come up online in a couple of conversations, it got me thinking about loyalty. And first thing I had to do is look up a definition. And it's weird because a lot of the definitions of loyal are fuzzy or just circular. They call on faithfulness, which itself is a challenging concept. But I ended up at the Cambridge dictionaries, and it turns out loyalty is the quality of being loyal. So there you go. You fully understand now. What? So obviously you click on loyal.
Can I just say something
what
about
is
this?
that?
Yeah. Yeah, so just kind of as a preamble to what we're going to be talking about, you know, we have a very anemic moral code.
We do?
No, not we. No, I'm talking about
today's culture.
In today's culture,
okay.
They have a very anemic, inept, incompetent, very, very thin moral code, and based on altruism. You know, the idea that you should be kind to others, and that's where it ends. That's where it begins. That's where it ends. So you have this kind of circular definition of loyalty.
Yes, no content other than who gets the goods.
Right.
Yes.
And yeah, so but we go beyond that. We go beyond that anemic morality of altruism.
Yeah, obviously that's not what we're talking about.
We have
here.
a robust morality.
So Christopher Smith says, a touch circular. Yes, if loyalty is being loyal. But there is a definition of loyal. Firm and not changing in your friendship with or support for a person or an organization, or in your belief in your principles. Now, that's actually pretty good. I saw some really messy definitions, but that's pretty good. Firm and not changing in your friendship with or support for a person or an organization, or in your belief in your principles. You know, in discussing integrity.
Yeah, it's good.
In discussing integrity, Ayn Rand said in The Ethics of Emergencies, in the book, where is the book?
I've got it up.
Oh, here we go. The Virtue of Selfishness.
Ah, there it is. Okay.
The virtue involved in helping those one loves is not selflessness or sacrifice, but integrity. Mm-hmm. Integrity is loyalty to one's convictions and values. It is the policy of acting in accordance with one's values, of expressing, upholding, and translating them into practical reality. Now, obviously, I love that, but yes. I also love the idea of loyalty. Some people use the word fealty or coherence with your values, living up to what you actually value. And yeah, I love that. I came across earlier today Matthew Humphreys, the British barrister,
yes,
who participates in all of the mock trials as well as several of the shows on the Ayn Rand Center UK, posted a meme. Here, I'll hold it up here. It's actually big, black with white letters, like it's really serious.
I don't know if people can read that.
And it says,
yes.
Sorry to say this, but being a good person doesn't get you loved. It gets you used.
Wah, wah.
I mean, what the hell? Now, on the other side of the coin, Lex Friedman, who we know to be a fan of Ayn Rand. I don't think he's an objectivist, but he is an admirer. And he posted this, and all the objectivists should bristle. I'll tell you in advance. Get ready for your hackles to be raised. He said, do good things for others for no reason at all. It makes life more fun. Transactional relationships are meh.
It kills me. Lex, I mean, if...
So, yeah, I feel like I'm stuck between, like, these two here.
No, you can't. I mean, so one of the things that Ayn Rand said in Doesn't Life Require Compromise? She says, integrity does not consist of loyalty to one's subjective whims, but of loyalty to rational principles. Now, how do you get to rational principles when you're talking about, say, opening the door for somebody when you're in, you're going into a building? You open the door, you allow somebody to go in first. And yes, Lex, that is fun, but that is not without reason. That is actually, there's a value trade going on there.
So you say that is transactional?
That absolutely is transactional.
So what's the transaction?
The transactional is just the idea of courtesy, the idea of assuming the best in somebody else who's going inside the same place that you're going in, whatever that is, whether that's a bank or whatever it is.
Kind of saying the same thing, though. What's in it for you?
There's a spiritual trade involved. Now, there is a risk. You might open the door for somebody and they might just grumble, not look at you, or scowl at you even. There's a risk that, your investment there may not pay off. But you know what? Usually it does. In America, I would say it always does, except for maybe 1 or 2% of cases, or if you're in a terrible neighborhood or whatever it is. But that's the exception to the rule. The rule is you can be confident that when you do extend those courtesies to somebody else, they are going to pay you back. It is transactional. There is a spiritual trade. It may just be a smile. It may just be a thank you. It may be a hello. It may be, oh my gosh, thank you so much. You made my day. So you don't exactly know how much you're getting back in your trade, but you're pretty reasonably sure that you're going to get something. So Lex, think about this.
Well,
think about the spiritual trade.
I think Lex knows, at least to some extent, knows that. He's just thinking of it in these terms. And the reason I say that is he's getting comments on there, including one that I wrote, but also just some normal person who's not me says, in a way, it's transactional because it's fun.
Yes.
That's absolutely right. And he got a lot of comments like that.
Good.
That, no, there is an exchange of values going on here.
Yes.
If there's something in it for you, then it's transactional.
Yeah.
And if there's nothing in it for you, then don't tell me it's fun.
Right.
Fun is part of what's in it for you.
Yes.
So yes, I see, when I read that, I'm still hippy-dippy enough to think, oh, that's so cool, that's so sweet. At the same time as I'm saying, oh, Lex, you're so close, why don't you get it? But, right away it brings to mind that idea of, perform random acts of kindness and senseless acts of beauty. Well, we don't want to be random. We can do better than random.
Oh, yeah.
And we certainly don't want to be senseless. We can do better than senseless. We can perform intentional acts of kindness.
Yeah.
And reasonable, effective acts of beauty.
Yes.
But when somebody likes Lex Friedman, says something like that, I can assume the best. I know that he knows better. I know he wants to see more beauty, more kindness.
Right.
And the fact is, there are reasons why we should all be capitalizing on opportunities to be awesome.
Except that if Lex understood what he was playing with it, he would drop it like a hot potato. If you are coming at it, within the conventional ethics of altruism,
right,
it is a guilt-inducing statement.
Right.
And does Lex Friedman want to spread guilt and pain and fear into people? I don't think so.
Yeah.
But if he knew that, he wouldn't have said it that way.
Yeah, Petya in the chat here says, well, Lex is Russian, so this is his Russian Orthodox soul speaking. I listen to him a lot. Again, this is Petya's comment. I listen to him a lot, and I do not think he can become full objectivist. I think he will go against the first. It will go against the first 20 years of his life. His family values deep and very hard to change. I get that. I have seen people who you would think, no, it's too late to change, and they do, but you're right. That would be really hard for somebody in his position. On the other hand, he has a friendship with Yaron Brook and other people at the Institute. He's certainly got the best people to talk to about those issues. Either way, I'm a big Lex admirer. I admire what he's accomplished, both in his podcasts and his personal professional career. He's a hell of a guy, and if most of us can achieve a good fraction of what he has, it's a beautiful thing. Jim Ashley, incidentally, our resident movie expert, and incidentally, I only recently saw On the Waterfront for the first time.
Right, yeah, we did, actually, just past year, I think.
And Jim Ashley says, the best movie I can think of right now that challenges the viewer to identify more clearly what loyalty means is On the Waterfront. In that story, Terry Malloy is implicitly being challenged to identify it for himself. He is ultimately faced with a choice between loyalty to his quote-unquote friends and loyalty to the truth. Yes. So, again, Lex, who writes, do good things for others for no reason at all. The words "at all" are just, it makes it sound more flowery and fruity and, fun, whimsical, but it's also like putting a gravestone on the idea. Skull and crossbones. It makes life more fun. Transactional relationships are meh. Now, that's exactly what I want to talk about, because transactional relationships are meh. If you're the kind of person to say, I did something good for that guy, I didn't get anything back from him, I'm done. If that's how far that goes with you.
Right. That's a tit-for-tat kind of mentality.
If you're in a romantic relationship and you're thinking, I'm giving more to this than he is or she is, I'm out. After, a day or a week or even a month of feeling like, I don't know, I'm the one putting forth the effort. Loyalty. The whole point of loyalty is that it goes above and beyond the moment. We've talked about trust. We've talked about forgiveness. These are things that are earned over the course of time. It's why people can let you down and it doesn't diminish your love for them if you've known them long enough. If they have earned that place in your value hierarchy and in your trust relationships. And that's what loyalty is. It's not about, is my boss treating me good today? No, I hate this job. I'm gone. It's, has my boss, has my company, has my organization, this company that I am a part of, been good for me?
Right.
Doesn't matter what happens then today or even last week, maybe not even the last month. Loyalty extends to the full context, the full relationship.
Yeah, you have to have a higher level of perspective, and to say, you have to, you can't just be in the weeds about it and just kind of willy-nilly, subjectively say, well, this person my boss slighted me today, think I might leave, and not consider the whole context.
Yes. And I've got to say that, when I read this meme that Matthew Humphreys, I've got to say, I should have pointed out right at the beginning, Matthew Humphreys posted this, sorry to say this, but being a good person doesn't get you loved, it gets you used. Matthew Humphreys posted it in order to say, I refuse to believe this. Well, my answer to that was I refuse to believe it too.
Yes.
And for multiple reasons, not least of which is, it's untrue.
Right.
But that's only one of the reasons why I refuse to believe that.
I had a lot more to say about this.
Oh, please.
Okay, so I said, being a doormat, all right, being a doormat, it means refusing to be good to the most important person, yourself. The better people. Now, take the better people who have self-esteem. They actually like themselves. They're confident in themselves. They don't want to see you self-harming or making yourself available to abusers. And the abusers and the self-harmers have poor moral standards to begin with, which means we need to let them learn their own lessons. The best thing for an abuser is hard consequences. And self-harmers and abusers need to be shaken awake to a rational moral standard of selfishness, real selfishness, self-esteem, self-worth, selfishness. The above statement is consistent with a horrible view that a person can only be one of two things, a player or a sucker, a carny or a mark, etc. In fact, the third alternative is a person of self-esteem. and not just a person of self-esteem who is proud of themselves, who like themselves, who is confident in themselves and their abilities and their thoughts and integrated and all of that, but can also have that same respect and confidence in other people, have the same kind of higher level, value-rich relationships with other people. So yeah, you know, that whole idea of it's just gonna, you know, why bother even trying to have a good relationship with other people because it's just going to get you burned,
right,
is ridiculous.
Now, Now I'll tell you why I'm very charitable with Lex Friedman in regard to how he's probably interpreting what he's saying, or how he's interpreting the context for what he's saying. Another post recently. Somebody on Twitter, who I don't recommend that you follow unless you have an appetite for woo. I, of course, have an appetite for woo, so I follow Wendy M. Lindenmuth, MPH. I have no idea what MPH is. It probably means something really, really mystical. But she's one of these folks who will post questions or tantalizing leads to get people to chime in. And she says, how easy is it for you to believe the best in a person? How easy is it for you to believe the best of a person? So my answer, of course, you can probably guess what my answer would be.
Yes.
It's my default. Why on earth would anyone want to assume otherwise? And I don't mind being occasionally disappointed. But what I couldn't stand is to be continually suspicious, cynical, pessimistic. Life is too short for that. And most people are way too awesome. So you can see why when Matthew Humphreys posts this poor sucker who wrote, sorry to say this, but being a good person doesn't get you loved, it gets you used. I thought, oh my God, what has that person been through? And they've probably been through being recklessly, or let's say for no reason at all, Lex Friedman, nice to people who didn't deserve it and was taken advantage of. In fact, one of the responses here that I got on Twitter was, try living my life. You'll see things differently. This was posted by somebody with the handle Jack J.R. Swisher, the pansexual gender fluid penman. Now I'm going to guess, if you're not just pansexual, like you,
I'm still trying to process all that information.
Well, you have a sexual attraction to everything.
Or the relevance of it.
Or you're gender fluid, meaning you're a man, you're a woman on a different day. You don't even know. Who knows? You're everything. Now, if you're going by the handle Jack J.R. Swisher, okay, well, kind of an interesting name. The pansexual gender fluid penman.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't doubt for a minute that in your situation you're running into a lot of abuse, misunderstandings. People are like, WTH or F or God only knows. In other words, yes, you may have lived a tough life, but you're kind of asking for it.
Well, now, it's like the Debbie Downer idea, is that you're going to put out in front of even anybody getting to know you, here are all my problems. Hi, I'm Amy Nasir, and I have all of these medical issues. Oh, and let me tell you about the time I went to the doctor and blah, 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 blah. I mean, so what? So what's the relevance?
I know in advance you're not going to like me, so I'm going to give you all the reasons not to like me in advance so I don't build up any hope, and I can be 100% sure that you're not going to like me.
Hi, my name is Amy Nasir. My cat died, and then my aunt died of cancer, and then blah 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 blah. I'm like, no. You don't put your worst foot forward. You've got to put your best foot forward, or let people get to know you. Just be a little vulnerable there. And it may feel like you're being vulnerable by putting out all of your troubles before your own value, but no, I would advise against that.
Yeah, and vulnerability is exactly the point that I want to make. But Not ready to go there yet.
But yeah, go ahead, because I've got more to say about what this person is
No,
saying.
I want you to go ahead.
So the idea here is that, when you're trying to understand, to try to avoid this thing here.
Oh, you'll get used.
Yeah, you'll get used. First of all, I mean, not only people don't understand what love is, really. They don't really have a good definition for it. Ayn Rand, to my understanding, is the first one who has really thoroughly given a great definition of that, but not just love, but of virtues. So in objectivism, again, we've got rational egoism, this rational morality, and these rational, consistent with human nature, human thought, human reason, these virtues that are consistent with that. That's what rationality is. And then you have all these virtues that basically are extensions and applications of rationality, like honesty, integrity, productiveness, pride, what are the other three? Justice, and so on. And she defines all of these things very explicitly. And so with the definition of these virtues, you can actually judge people rationally. You can so you don't have to put your guard up all the time. You can give people an opportunity to show who they are. You can show who you are, and you can judge accordingly. And with those words, with those definitions, you can also help other people define these virtue characteristics of people that you need to understand in order to figure out if they're of value to you. So don't be too guarded. You've got philosophy in your corner. Don't ever forget that. It's very important.
Yeah.
Yeah, virtues.
But what about narcissism?
Aww.
Yes, this is one of the responses that I got on the the Twitter platform.
Oh.
You can say these things, Robert Nasir, because you don't fully understand narcissism. You don't understand what kind of people are out there. And
we've talked about this before on our show.
Yes. It makes me think of an old Tony Robbins lecture I listened to. He was working with a woman who was in a relationship, and she was unhappy, and she was saying in particular, well, I can't really let my partner know how I feel. Not fully. I can't fully give myself to him. I can't fully be vulnerable because, it's not returned, and it makes me feel hurt, and I just can't do that. I can't be all in. And Robin's response was, well, if you continue in this relationship, holding back, protecting yourself, guarding yourself, never being all in, over the course of time, what do you think is going to happen? And think about it. Really think about it. Project. If you continue this way for another week and another month and another year, what's going to happen to this relationship? And she had to acknowledge, well, yeah, if I'm not all in, it's going to fall apart. Mm-hmm. He said, well, is that what you want? And by the end of the conversation, I won't give the whole story, but he made her realize that no, the thing to do is to be all in. And if she's not getting the love back from him, keep giving it anyway. And if it doesn't turn around eventually, and you can see it's not going to, leave him and find somebody who will appreciate that you are somebody who is all in.
Yes.
Who lives their values and doesn't hold back for fear of being hurt or being vulnerable. Now listen, I've got to say before I say what I'm going to say, I don't want anybody to go out there and get themselves hurt in a way that is going to leave bruises, and I mean spiritual bruises, that's going to do you any damage. But my lesson to Mr. Sorry to say this, but being a good person doesn't get you loved. My lesson to the people who say, you can't assume people are good. You've got to wait until you learn something about them, which is a lie. That is so false. I've got to say, my lesson to you all is you have got to be all in. And more than that, you want to Be loyal. Even to people who you only have a business relationship with, a friendship relationship with, but especially your family, your wife, your kids, your parents. You have got to be all in. It's the only way to live. It's the only way to be. And more than that, and here's the final lesson. Protecting yourself is weakness. Now, that's an exaggeration. Obviously, you've got to protect yourself from real threats to your life, to your spiritual values. But the vast majority of the things that you think are threats aren't. Mm-hmm. Vulnerability is the real strength. Being willing to be all in. That's why I love Lex Friedman's post, even though he's wrong, and even though taken the wrong way, it'll lead to disaster. Yeah. You are more powerful than anybody out there who's trying to hurt you, than anybody out there who loves you but is letting you down. Mm-hmm. And if you can approach your relationships from a position of self-mastery, from a position of strength, from a position of loyalty, from a position of knowing what you want, what you believe, who you care about, what values you're going to have in your life, then you can use the concept of loyalty to remind yourself, I am bigger than anything I'm going through, and my relationships with the people I care about are bigger than anything that happened today, or this week, or this month. Mm-hmm. And you can be all in. And that's what loyalty gets you.
Which also means that loyalty can be difficult.
Sure.
It can be difficult, but of course, I mean, this is all an application of keeping context.
Well, it's an application of integrity. Loyalty is integrity in action.
Absolutely.
Yes. And that's why I give you the caveat. If anything I'm saying is setting you up to be hurt materially by something or someone important, don't do it. But most of the time, that's not what's going on. I know, because I'm an introvert. I'm super shy. And when I have to open up to people, well, the rock and roll picnic reminds me, I've got a circle of friends, a circle of musicians, which is even better than friends. I'm kidding, but only a little. I've got people I can call on. Now, how do I know I've got people I can call on? And if you are like me, shy and even super vulnerable and worried about getting hurt, ask yourself this. If you think, well, I know people, but I'm not sure I could really call on them, or if they'd resent it if I did, or if that would be okay, and I might just be disappointed. If you feel any of that, ask yourself this. If any of those people called on you, would you be available? Would you be happy for the opportunity to say, yeah, I'm there? And if it was something big, would you be excited for the opportunity to put on the cape and fly in and help them with that thing they need help with? And I'm willing to guess that at least in the better relationships in your life, you would absolutely appreciate the opportunity to be there for them. And I'm telling you, that means most of them would be happy to be there for you. You deserve that. You should have that. You can make that happen.
Yes. You know, this is, by the way, Jennifer's in the chat on YouTube. Hey, Jennifer. Hey. And Christopher asks, what was the set list of the Rock and Roll Picnic? Let me try to remember here. Okay, we had...
we had a lot of different sets, but Amy, you had your own set of 7 songs.
7 songs.
Seven songs for Amy's set.
All right, so I had 2 Talking Head songs. There was Heaven, which is a great song about there not being an afterlife, and if there were, it would really be boring. And the other one is And She Was, which is a really, really great, super fun song to play. Then we had Cinnamon Girl by Neil Young, which is also really, really fun to play and sing. And it's got a great one-note guitar solo.
One-note guitar solo. Easiest guitar solo I've ever played. Although when I play it, I play the chords around it too.
Yeah, I know, but still.
But I love it. It's the best one-note guitar solo ever.
Yeah, that, and then we had Little Red Book by Love, or Ted Nugent, depending on how you want to interpret that. And
originally a Burt Bacharach song.
Yep, and then the last song that we did was Just What I Needed by the Cars, which was the hardest song of them all.
That was tough.
Yes, so I don't know how many is that. Is that 7?
That's most of them.
I think
Did you say 8675309,
Oh,
Jenny?
yeah, Tommy Two Tone, Jenny 8675309. I think that was it. Yeah. Yes.
Good set.
Good set, real fun
Good
to play.
set.
And we've done these songs before in the past, and I was somewhat familiar with a lot of them already.
Yeah,
But,
a lot of people, a lot of different songs.
Yeah.
Like solo, I did my my mashup of Mr. Blue Sky and Yesterday.
Right.
The original version of that's on my YouTube channel.
Oh, thank you, Jennifer. Badfinger, No Matter What.
Badfingers, No Matter What. That was the other song in your set.
That was the last one in my set. Thank you.
Now, when toward the end, when we had some of the craziest stuff going on, Chip Kipps, who you can find on Facebook, local Southeast Michigan musician, probably the best musician that was there. It's a toss-up between him and Ernie, right?
But I would say that, Chip is a lot more versatile.
Yeah. I mean, the two of them were the pros.
Ernie's great. Yeah. Ernie's great.
They were the professionals.
Yeah.
And Chip did, Chip will do covers of songs, but in an entirely different way. So we did a version, for example, of The Weight by the band The Band.
Yes.
And that was fun because Amy broke out the alto saxophone for that one.
Yes, I did.
And added a little extra flourish to that.
Yeah, that was actually a really fun song. It was, that whole line of dun 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 dun. Anyway, and I was off to it was actually a real breakthrough moment for me, guys. This was my standing order of half-assing it this year.
Yeah.
So I got my saxophone, already set it up, got my reed in, everything like that. Of course, by the time I got up, my reed was all kind of dried out, and I thought, oh no. So it's a little bit squeaky, but that's okay. So I kind of started off to the side of the band, not quite on the stage, and I kind of eked my way up slowly. And they all noticed me, and they're like, "Oh, it's Amy. She's playing saxophone." And
well, yeah, right away, Ron Toole of Ron Toole and the Capitalists gets up and gets a microphone on her sax.
And I'm like, "Oh no, my reed is squeaky. It's dry." But anyway, I did that. I got through it, and I came up with just by listening to, I was trying to figure out the notes for it, so I ended up getting like 4 or 5 notes that actually blended with a song that I was able to play with it. So it was really nice.
Well, it was a natural for you as a bass player to play along with the roots, and everything fit.
Yeah.
Very good, very good. Yeah, folks, if you're in Southeast Michigan and you're looking for these musicians, Chip Kipps and Ernie Douglas are local musicians, very good at what they do. And they have been part of bands that have either been part of the same bands we were in or there was overlap. So these are all friends and family and bandmates. Whole point was, anybody at this rock and roll picnic I could have called on, a bunch of them stayed afterward, helped tear down the gear, even drove it back to the studio, helped carry everything in. And I know they could call on me and I would be happy to do the same thing. There's no sacrifices involved, and these are not the kind of people who are going to ask me to sacrifice.
Yeah.
And if they ask for something and it makes sense for me to say, no, I can't do that, they're going to be cool with it. But I am loyal to these people, and I see now they are loyal to me.
Yes, and on top of that, so not only did I do bass and the saxophone, but I also did 2 sets, one with castanets and one with fans, of flamenco dance.
Yeah.
And I did some demonstrations and everything, which was a lot of fun, and I can do it like breathing now. Pretty much. And then we also had thank my good friend Sue, who gave me a piñata to use.
Yes.
And we filled it with candy, and it was this kind of like big pink dinosaur.
It was kind of crazy.
Piñata is crazy looking. It was so hard to break.
Piñatas are wild. They're really crazy and fun, but also this damn thing's never going to bust open. And then eventually it does.
Oh, it was so good.
It was pretty cool.
I have a lot of video of people trying to hit it.
Yeah. I've got to say, since Jennifer is in the chat, Jennifer, thank you for helping set up. She arrived right at the start.
Thank you.
And we were not really ready right at the start. We were running a little behind getting set up. So thank you for helping with the decorations and all of the setup. You're the best and very much appreciated. We got her on stage too with tambourine.
Yeah, Jennifer playing the tambourine.
Cool. Very
cool.
Yeah, so folks, just wanted to talk a little bit about loyalty. Remind myself. Why do I talk about these things? Because everything I say, I need to remind myself of as much as anybody else. That yes, loyalty is that willingness to live up to your values in other people. And the reason it's loyalty and not just in integrity or justice is that extends over time. It is something about the relationship that is more than just what have you done for me lately or what have I done for you lately. So, Lex Friedman, I would not say do good things for others for no reason at all. Do good things for others for good reasons. And sometimes it doesn't have to be people who are already in your circle. It can be total strangers, but don't tell me there's no reason for it.
Right.
If there really is no reason for it, don't do it. But there are reasons. Figure out what they are, and you can feel that much better about those supposedly random acts of kindness and supposedly senseless acts of beauty. Make them rational.
Yeah, make them rational. Give them words. Understand what you're doing. Describe what the value is, because when you describe it, you bolster that same value in yourself, that same virtue in yourself, and and put it all into words. Use the virtue words.
But if any of you out there have a little bit, like we all do, a little bit of that, being good gets you used feeling, the other end of that false alternative, drop that too. Put yourself out there. Be vulnerable. Vulnerability is strength. Loyalty is strength. Being willing to be hurt, which is rarely going to happen, but even when it does, being willing, that is strength. I wish that for all of you. I've got no Post-it note for the week. I've got my old Post-it note that just says mastery, which reminds myself to be strong, to assert mastery over any given situation. So that's what I've got up this week. You can make one. I don't have it here, but you can take a Post-it note if you don't still have it from the last time you heard me say this. Write the word mastery on it, and it will remind you, I can be loyal. I can extend myself. I can be vulnerable. I can be risk tolerant because I'm strong. There's nothing that's ever happened to me that I haven't lived through yet. Mm-hmm. And there ain't nothing that's going to happen to me that I'm not going to live through. Someday people will say, that one thing finally got Robert. But that ain't going to be anytime soon. I wish the same for you folks. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, and we have a request for next year's Rock and Roll Picnic. We need to play a Rush song.
A Rush song? Oh, man. I would be like doing Alex Lifeson such a disservice by even trying. What would be the closest we could do to a Rush song?
I mean, it would have to be something simple like Fly By Night or maybe not even Tom Sawyer. I don't know about that.
Fly By Night.
Fly By Night.
The solo on that, I mean, I can play the rhythm guitar for all of that stuff, but the solo on Fly By Night isn't that hard. There's some fast bits, but they're kind of
it's straightforward.
Typical guitar trick fast bits.
Yeah.
So, but who the hell's going to sing it?
Well, I could.
Jennifer
would sing it and play tambourine at the same time.
we used to do that song live, and I would sing it an octave lower. And I've listened to the tapes of it, and I think, why the hell did I do that? If you can't get somebody who can actually sing it right, it shouldn't be done at all. But
Jennifer suggests Closer to the Heart.
Closer to the Heart.
I don't know.
Just that guitar figure at the very beginning is so tricky for me. I swear, I always think I should use a capo on it, but I don't think Alex Lifeson does. Jennifer, we will figure out something in the Rush catalog that we could do. Man, I would love to do Time Stands Still. Probably my favorite Rush song. And probably one that I could play.
Yeah.
And we could bring in Amy, bring in the girls for the Amy Mann vocals. So
yes.
That would be cool, too.
We could play A New Rose by The Damned.
Well, Sure. Yeah, exactly. Right. So I would do that out of loyalty to you.
Thank you.
No, that really was a great concert. So, folks, thank you. Yes. Thanks again for joining us. We are 21 seconds over the top of the hour, which means we are a little bit. What is that? 12 times 5? So anyway, thanks for joining us. We'll do this again next week. As always, if you want to support the show, robertnasir.com, Patreon, PayPal links are there. If you have suggestions for the show, drop them in the chat or on the 5 Minutes with Robert and Amy Nasir Facebook group. Join us next Sunday, and until then, we wish you all of the success that you so richly deserve. We wish you an open heart. Man, that sounds so poetic. What the hell does that mean? No, we wish you an open mind in your relationships. Be strong, be vulnerable, connect, engage, get messy out there. Believe me, it will all be worth it. It will all come back to you. And finally, because it's going to happen anyway if you do all this stuff, we wish you love.